We're finished. We're finished the Gibb, and we're now in Kununurra.
Pulled up to a nice little spot. It's the waterfront. Kimberley Land, right on one of the premium sites, as you can see, right on the lake. It's not bad.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. We thought we would just take you through a little rundown of our Gibb trip.
Yeah, just a few things that we sort of discovered along the way, just to sort of help you if you haven't done it and looking to do it, or if you've done it and you've missed something, or you haven't gone up to, say, Honeymoon Bay, for example. Well, we did. We'll show you what we found out.
I've just made a little list on my phone, so we'll be looking at my phone throughout, but I've just made a list of some questions. How many kilometres did we travel on the Gibb? So I think from memory, it's about 660, 680 kilometres from Derby to Kununurra, or from the ends of the Gibb River Road. Within that, I think it was about 480 kilometres of dirt on the actual Gibb River Road. We also took the Columbaroo
Gibb River Road. Yeah.
So that's another about 500 kilometres return. So I think it's about 280 each way up to Honeymoon Bay and then back down to the Gibb River Road, and that's all dirt.
That's all dirt, and it goes from being road to trail.
Yeah, you go from like
that's being generous.
An actual potentially 2 lanes and a bit of a pull off to being 1 lane.
Yeah, and praying no one else is coming the opposite direction.
Yeah, with maybe there's a pull off somewhere, and then it's very corrugated up through there.
So yeah, that's a grand total of 1,000.
I think it's about 1,200 kilometres. We went. You do have to travel off the Gibb to go down to like Tunnel Creek, to go to Bell Gorge as well.
Yeah, there's lots of pull-offs to see things as well. So.
Yeah, so it's about 1,200 kilometres of dirt, and then another 200 odd kilometres of actual blacktop.
Yeah, so it's a fair old distance, and there is a number of fuel stops, isn't there?
Yeah, fuel along the way. So
most of the stations hold fuel.
There was, I think the first one is the Imnagy community.
So Imnagy,
which is where Bell Gorge is. Then after that, you've got Mount Barnett. On the way up to Honeymoon or Columbaroo, you've got Drysdale Station has fuel.
Drysdale.
There is fuel in Columbaroo as well, but you need a permit
to go into the actual town, and you can get that from the shop, right?
Yeah, you just get it from the grocery store.
Yeah.
And you can get fuel up in Columbaroo, but the fuel is only open there 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Sometimes they do run out of fuel, so it's dependent. You may or may not get fuel up there.
Yeah, the fuel's at the Mission, isn't it?
It's at the Mission, and it was about $3.90 a litre.
Yeah. To try and carry what you need, but you can't always.
Yeah, so you can't.
It's a long way.
Fill up at Drysdale on the way up, and then on the way back down, you can fill up at Drysdale again.
We did find that we used more fuel going from Drysdale to Columbaroo and back on that road, probably about as much as we did on the actual Gibb, because the road's just really slow going. You can try and do better than 55, you're probably going to break something.
Yeah.
We did that and we still broke something. So
the next fuel, I think, there wasn't fuel at Ellenbray.
There's no fuel at Ellenbray or
Home Valley.
So
the next fuel is at El Questro. And then from El Questro, I think it's about 80 kilometres to be out of the Gibb. Probably 150 into Kununurra.
Yeah.
From there.
Yeah.
So fuel, I think the fuel prices themselves, like the most we've seen was $3.90, but probably sat around the $3.20
mark.
$3.30.
Yeah.
Which is what you expect on.
It's got to travel a long way to get there.
Those type of remote roads.
So it's the price of doing business. So, and then what was the next one? Water. We didn't have a problem getting water. Pretty much everywhere has water.
We
just keep an eye out for, sort of their preferences. So that they might have taps around, but you may not be able to, like, you know, I don't know why you would, but you can't, like, wash your car. Like, in the middle of nowhere on a dirt road, why would you wash your car? But you can pick up water and fill your tanks most places.
Yeah.
A lot of it's bore water. We didn't have we didn't have to go into a creek or anything to get water.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have to do any of that.
There's other YouTube videos out there. We won't name them, that pull up into creeks and fill your water from creeks. You definitely don't need to do that.
And wonder why they get sick.
There was water at Imnaji. There was water at Mount Barnett. There's water at Drysdale. There's water in Columbaroo. There was water at McGowans. There was water at Honeymoon Bay, Ellenbray, Home Valley Station.
Everywhere we went,
and
basically.
El Questro. So there's
everywhere
water.
We stopped, there was water.
Everywhere. We filled up our tanks before we left, and then we filled up at Imnaji, and we filled up at McGowans.
And that was it, wasn't it?
And we didn't need any more water, so.
Like, we don't like to waste water, so we carry what we think we will need and then take what we need only, and that way there's enough for everyone to go around, but that's just us. So
drinking water. So I did buy like 7 10-litre bottles of water to start the trip. That lasted us 2 weeks. And then actually, apart from Mount Barnett, you can't really buy water.
You can't buy water
on the road at all. We ended up drinking the water from McGowans.
Yeah, so we filter it as well.
Yeah, we filter it when we fill the tanks, and that was fine. It didn't have a funny taste or anything to it. It was great.
Yep.
I usually buy the bottled water because standard in WA, I don't really like the taste of the water over here, but that was fine.
Yeah, it's usually a bit hard.
Yeah.
A bit mineralised, but you get used to it.
Food and supplies.
Food and supplies.
So we had enough food with us really to get us through about, like, we could probably get through about 4 weeks. Like the last week we would have been eating very random meals and just pulling things together. But we had enough food to cover us for like 4 weeks. So we didn't really need to top up anything on the track. What I do to help save space is I pre-make meals. So I made like a big batch of Mexican mince, a big batch of Bolognese, a couple of curries, just things like that, like a stew. And I put them in Ziploc bags and then I just freeze them in those portions. And we had about 18 meals frozen in the freezer, and they just fit in our two little tubs in the freezer in the caravan. Then we had a couple of extra pieces of meat here and there. We caught some fish.
We supplemented our meals with what we caught and what we had in the fridge.
We ate like the vegetables and stuff we ate through in the first week. And then you just really don't have much fruit and veg after that. But if I've already made the meals, that's fine. We just keep eating those, heat up some rice, heat up some pasta or something and add it with it.
Yep.
You can get small amount of groceries on the track. I wouldn't be expecting to get a shop.
No.
There is like an IGA type thing up in Columbaroo. You need the permit to shop there, and fresh fruit and vegetables was like the same type of price that you would get from a normal groceries, but...
Well, the reason being is because they're a remote community, they get their fresh produce subsidised pretty heavily, so it's pretty much the same price. Keeping in mind, if you do go to Columbaroo and you do go shopping, don't go crazy, don't go to a massive shop. They do get enough to supply the town.
Yeah.
It is a small town.
You don't want to take all the food away from the people that live there.
Yeah, because it's not like your local metropolitan Coles where it gets a delivery every other day.
No.
It gets a delivery every 3 weeks.
But like other things that they have in the shop is very expensive. So we did have a look in there, like milk. We buy lactose-free milk. It was $8 a litre.
I mean,
so
it's just logistics. It's the price of shipping and transport. It's just how it is because it's far remote, isn't it?
Yeah, it is what it is.
It has to get there by barge because you can't truck it in.
But just keep that in mind. Like if you do need something, they probably might have it. It's a very limited range, but it's going to be expensive. I think Mount Barnett had a little grocery store.
Again,
but nowhere else had anything
else,
really. There was like, you might go in and find a packet of chips and a drink and an ice cream, but that's about it. There's not really groceries anywhere else across the track.
Again, you will find that's just as expensive, if not more so.
Permits?
The only permits was the parks permits around El Questro, wasn't it? And then also the town permit in Columbaroo, which you can get at the supermarket. Go into El Questro and you can purchase the parks pass there or Emma Gorge.
Yeah, so they do a day pass for all the Equestro things. I think it was $12 for the day.
And that gives you access to all the gorges and all the attractions around El Questro.
Yep. And then you need the National Parks pass.
Yep.
So you can either buy a monthly ticket for that or a weekly ticket for the national parks. Or if you're going to be in WA for a while, just buy the yearly pass. It's easier. And then once you have it, you can go to all the WA parks and you don't have to worry again. And it was $50 for the permit up at Columbaroo. So we bought the permit because we needed some more unleaded for the boat and the generator because it was so hot.
It was really hot. And it was so windy too, mate.
Then we have got, now just talk about timing for a bit. So we spent 23 days on the Gibb.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't feel like that long at all.
So we got off the Gibb on the 22nd of September. The end of the season is like the end of September. We got off, and then 2 days later they closed Emma Gorge, and they've just started to close everything because it's just gotten too hot, far too hot. So if you are going to do the Gibb, try to do it, earlier rather than later. We had done most of the things by the time we got to that very end where they were started to close everything. We just got through seeing everything that we wanted to see, but definitely probably I think August would have been a better month. July would have even been better because it wouldn't have been as hot. Okay, now the road, where was the worst section of road?
Easily from basically between Drysdale to Honeymoon and McGowans was just crap, and got even more so the closer you got.
Yeah.
And it took a bit of a toll on the truck and the van, and we have done a lot of pretty rough roads. That was the roughest road we've ever driven. I knew it was going to be rough. We both knew it was going to be really rough, but I don't think we ever comprehended how it was going to be that rough.
Yeah, and it's really slow going. One of the things I do is I download the offline version of Google Maps. So I have that on my phone when we don't have service. And I had a look how long is it going to take us to get up to Honeymoon Bay? And it said it's going to take about 6 hours. It was about 300 kilometres to get up there. And we're 6 hours, 300 kilometres. Okay, that's all right. Maybe it'll take us 7 hours. But we can do that in a day. We'll just push through. It took us 9 hours.
It was a long
9 hours to get up there. We got up there in the dark. The very last 14 kilometres was the longest 14 kilometres I think we've
ever driven.
Definitely with the Caravan as well.
Constantly getting out. I don't know how many times did we get out to check things that were because I always try to listen for things, particularly when the road's rough. It was just squeak and rattle after squeak and rattle, and I was just getting out. And it was mainly my spotlights. My spotlights were getting rattled off.
Yeah.
And I think one of them actually did come off. We lost a cover. That's gone. I have no idea what that is. So I ended up just taking them off.
Yeah, we stopped in the track. But yeah, that last 14 kilometres was the longest 14 kilometres we've ever driven, I think.
It was also the slowest.
And the map was telling us to go around to the right, but the signs were telling us to go to the left. So we followed the signs because we know that the map is sometimes wrong. And we did the right choice, and we were supposed to follow the signs. But when we got there, we spoke to the lady, and she's like, yeah, apparently the old road has completely washed out, and they've had people follow the map instead of follow the signs, and a lady got stranded for 3 days.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate up there.
So yeah, the road, that's probably the worst road. On the actual Gibb, not going off, but on the actual Gibb, where was the roughest section?
Probably between Ellenbray and Home Valley.
Yeah.
So there you have to actually cross the Durack River, and that was one of the roughest river crossings we've done. Just lots of big rocks and stones and boulders. It was just
It's very slow.
Very slow going. Well, not for that one brave hero in his Y62.
He overtook us on there.
And never saw him again.
Anyway.
But, oh well, everything's under warranty.
Okay, so now to some good stuff, I guess. Where was your favourite gorge?
Oh, yes, that's a tough one because Manning is such a good experience because you have the dip at the start, the dip at the end, and then you have to come back the same way. So it's the same dip at the end of the track. There's 3 swims you got to do, and it's on the day that we went. It was really hot. It was actually
it was perfect.
But as far as the actual gorge is concerned, I would have to say Emma Gorge is the prettiest.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
As we went, because we did west to east, and a lot of the gorges are on the western side, and each one we went to, we're like, oh, this one's better. So we go to Bell Gorge, and we're like, this is beautiful.
Oh, it's amazing.
Then you go to Manning, and you're like, man, this is beautiful. And we stopped off at Galvin's Gorge, which has a place in my heart because there was 2 dogs there swimming, and it was absolutely just the cutest thing, watching them living their best life swimming around in this water, like this gorge waterfall.
We nearly left with a black lab.
Yep. Beautiful. But then, yeah, I think Emma Gorge was the last one we did, and it actually was the most special. It was
that one, it's a long, hot walk. Well, it's not long. It's probably, 1.5 2 Ks in. And it's hot. It's hard going on the ankles if they're a bit shoddy. But once you get there,
it's beautiful.
Good grief. Like, it's one of the prettiest bloody places I've been to, and very, very, very popular. I'm just glad that we had our usual luck because as we're walking in, and timing, as we're walking in, all these people are walking out like there was tour buses. There was like 40 of them coming. So I was like, be my guest, out you come. And I knew that there was 40 less people there waiting for me.
Yeah.
And sort of like crowding the place. But it was still quite busy, but it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Favourite campsite?
I'm not sure if I have one. I rather like the Pentecost.
I would say the Pentecost.
Yeah.
I would also say I thought that Honeymoon Bay was really beautiful, and I loved the spot we camped in Honeymoon Bay. The thing that spoiled it for us at Honeymoon Bay was, one, helicopter blew our awning over our roof, which was very annoying. 2, people who camped in the beach shack next to us were the type of people who had their generator running all through the night.
And just didn't care about anyone else.
And were like all up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So that wasn't fun. So to kind of tainted the experience for us.
As a location's concerned, it was stunning.
It was beautiful.
McGowans was not bad either.
Yeah, I liked McGowans. It wasn't as pretty, I don't think.
Not as, well...
but it had a better feeling to it.
I liked it more than Honeymoon, personally. Yeah. Just because there was more space to camp, whereas where we camped at Honeymoon, it was on a bit of a hill and there was only so much flat space. So people were you felt a lot more claustrophobic, whereas McGowan's, I think they only have a maximum of 40 vans, and I think that at one time, or 40 campers. So they it's crowded without feeling crowded.
Yeah. Well, when we were there also, there was no one there when we were there. 2 people virtually for a couple of days.
We got really lucky. Yeah, it was just us and the caretakers and a few people coming and going, and that's it.
But yeah, I think the Pentecost, if we did stay at the Gibb River Rest area, that would have been
a much better one.
We
did think about it, didn't we? But we just sort of thought, let's just get to Drysdale.
We got over the corrugations, to be honest. Yeah, after leaving McGowans and getting to Drysdale, we just couldn't do the extra 45 minutes on the road anymore.
It was nice. It was one of the best parts of getting to the Pentecost was the end of the dirt. So you literally cross the river, do another 20 or 30 metres of dirt, and then bitumen.
And that's it.
Bitumen to the end, and that was just a moment of relief. But it was a bit sad, bittersweet, because the dirt means adventure.
Yeah.
And then you get to the blacktop and it's not so much adventure anymore. But it was still pretty awesome.
Okay.
So
now,
damage report.
damage report.
Okay, so this is a lot like sort of the last thing of this bid is the damage report. So what have we broken? The first thing we broke.
This is my list.
Oh,
I wrote a list.
Let me. Okay, so I want to do this. So first thing, which was kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
That I'll put in was Bianca's coffee cup.
It was. That was a sad day.
So my cup was stronger than yours apparently because they were put together in the shelf and they were rattling around and hers broke, mine didn't. So we also had our microwave plate. We've never had this happen before, have we?
Never.
It actually came out of the microwave, busted the door open, fell to its death onto the floor, stayed inside the little bag that Bianca made, and
yeah, just shattered.
It just shattered into 1,000 pieces inside the bag, which is great.
But I did, if you remember, if you've been here, when I was packing up the van and I filmed that, and I'm like,
jinxed yourself, didn't you?
And I'm like, this has never happened before.
I hope I don't jinx myself.
I hope I don't jinx myself. And
next minute.
Yep. Yeah. Next minute, it did. And do you know what? If it was just the corrugations, it wouldn't have happened. But I really think it was when we were on the little track between Columbaroo and Honeymoon Bay. There was some bits where the Caravan was like fully rock. It's a 4-wheel drive track. It's not just a road, and it was rocking, and it just fell out.
Basically, you're not doing that track with your standard semi-off-road van. You need clearance, preferably a cutaway. You can do it without the cutaway, but just be so careful.
Yeah, but if it was just on the dirt road, I don't think it would have happened with our microwave. But anyway, it happened. It broke. We ordered a new one. We're waiting for
that now, actually. Hurry up. So we've got a couple of condiments and food mishaps. So we have 2 exploded milk. I've never had that happen before, right? Like I don't know if you guys have ever had that happen, but I'm not sure if it's like just the vibrations or the heat, or if it was just off. I don't know.
No, it wasn't off because it didn't smell.
It can't be off.
It was.
It was split too.
They were just expanded so much that it split.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened. Like maybe it split and got a little hole, and then it just started to expand, or it was the heat. I don't know, but it was. I just opened the cupboard in the morning, and then there was milk everywhere, and I'm like, oh no.
We also lost 2 cracked eggs.
Yeah, in
2
the fridge.
Eggs cracked in the fridge. The pepper shake, the fine white pepper shaker was just everywhere, and so was the soy sauce.
Yeah, I don't think it was. So the pepper, so it's one of those twisty ones. So it just kind of rattled open to the open hole and then fell over, and there was just pepper everywhere. So it was just annoying to clean. And the soy sauce, I think we just didn't put it away properly into the container, so it tipped, and then there was soy sauce everywhere. But luckily, I keep all that stuff in a container. So it was really just the soy sauce was in the container and contained. So
okay, moving along, we also got one of the press buttons on the drawers. The back housing of that had broken its little brackets that the screws go through. So the drawer would just flap in the breeze, basically. We lost a dust cap on one of the wheels in the Caravan. Not a big issue, I had a spare anyway. A helicopter was hovering over our van at Honeymoon Bay.
Never. Like, how would you ever expect this to happen?
What an absolute peanut.
So around Derby, there's an army base, and they were having what's it called? Like the wars?
Operation Talisman Sabre, I think was the war games.
Yeah, war games.
Yeah.
And we didn't recognise the chopper. We think it might have been an Indian chopper or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't Australian.
They just come out for a look.
And the Muppet was just hovering over the top of us and then broke our awning, pushed the awning down, bent the legs out, and then because it was already windy as well, it was quite a windy day, wasn't it? And then the chopper just had to come and make it worse. And then the wind and probably the gust from the chopper as well flipped the whole awning over the top of the van. And to the Aussie Traveller awning's credit, we're not here for like sponsorship, but I feel like they should, considering what we've been through with our awning. But to their credit, they actually make the frame they have these rubber flexible joints and elbows. If it wasn't for those,
Oh, yeah.
it would have snapped the mount to the Caravan, which is silicon, like elastic and bolted to the actual Caravan. It would have ripped that clean off. It would have done some absolute horrible damage to the Caravan and all the, walk to the Caravan.
Yeah.
So to Aussie Traveller's credit,
It's a tough
it's
awning.
a tough awning. It's not as simple as a rollout to set up. It's just not. We don't mind it because once it's out, we know that it'll take a bloody military helicopter hovering less than 5 metres away from our van to break it.
Yeah.
Not just a gust, like the gusts of wind that it was up in before the idiot chopper pilot, that it was withstanding. You wouldn't be able to do that with your standard rollout. So kudos to Aussie Traveller for making one hell of a strong awning. You're never going to make something strong enough to withstand the gusts of that helicopter.
Yeah.
So it stood up. So, and what parts did break, a numpty like myself could fix it.
Yeah.
So
we just had to think about it a little bit, and we could put it all back together because obviously we didn't install the awning onto the Caravan ourselves, so we didn't really know how it went back together. But yeah, we got it all back together and it works.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit stretched, if I'm honest, the canvas, and the poles are a little bit tough to get in and out now, but it works. It works.
Yeah. After the awning, on the way back down from McGowans, I think we got, I don't know, maybe an hour out of Drysdale, I started noticing a knock. Couldn't work out where it was coming from. I knew it was, or what was causing it. I knew it was roughly coming from the front right corner of the truck, and I just couldn't work it out. It would come and go, and yeah, I was in two-wheel drive. We got to Drysdale, I had a bit of a look around, couldn't see anything out of place. Okay. And then, so we drove from Drysdale to Ellenbray station. We unhitched at Ellenbray at the campground. We drove around to Sandy Gorge. We parked in the car park. We did our thing. We came back in. It was really sandy, so I'd put it in four-wheel drive. And I turned to get out of our spot and out of the car park. It was a big sandy patch. And I just hear, I'm driving, I hear this ping and a crunch. Oh, what was that? That sounded expensive. Lost four-wheel drive. So the front hub, the front driver's, or the front right-hand hub had basically given way. Okay, so once we discovered that we lost four-wheel drive, we had the axle just sort of hanging there in the assembly, just flapping around and knocking the whole way.
On the corrugations.
Yeah. I tried to, I called my mechanic, Dave from All American Driveline. If you've got one of these trucks, this guy is your man. He knows, he's just a fountain of knowledge, and he's just a bloody awesome bloke. He hadn't seen me for months. I called him up when we were at Home Valley Station. He gave me directions to figure out what the problem was and possible remedies. He gave me two options. One of them was to pull the hub cap off, pull the locking hub out, the gear and everything, and strap the axle up onto the uni joints and the assembly, and hopefully that was going to get us through. It did, but all my straps and the big thick zip ties, they all broke. So we got to Connemara, and I just spent a day yesterday, the day before, pulling the whole thing apart. I just YouTubed and pulled the axle out, so that there shouldn't be any problems now. Hopefully, touch wood.
That's it. We've done the Gibb. Definitely recommend if you want to experience it yourself. Just obviously make sure you have done pre-checks before you go. Make sure your tyres are down. You drive to conditions. Take enough food.
Check on the go.
Yeah, check everything. Make sure everything's tightened. Make sure that, you do the checks. If you hear any noise, check it out.
That's one thing. Yeah. maybe turn the music down, or you may not need. You can't hear the music over all the rattling and the corrugations anyway.
Yeah.
So just listen to your car and
then try your best to stay around 60. So the road does have a lot of washouts in it. It does have a lot of changing conditions. It does have a lot of unexpected things.
floodways and stuff like that.
If you are driving at 80
you're not
or
going to have
90,
time to pull up.
especially with a caravan, you're not going to have time to pull up, and then you'll hit these dips at a speed you don't want to, and that's when you're probably going to break something. So just be careful, be safe, and enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Take your time to enjoy it.
Yep. All right.
But also but be respectful. Clean up after yourselves.
Yeah.
If you see anyone being a grub, pull them up respectfully but firmly, because these places won't stay open for long. The things we've seen really get my blood boiling, and I'm losing my tolerance for it and my sense of humour.
Yeah.
Clean up after yourselves. Don't just leave fires going when you leave a campsite. Don't leave rubbish lying around. If you go to the toilet, take a bag with you, dig a hole, take the toilet paper with you, put it in your gear bag in your bin.
Burn it on the fire.
Burn it on the fire. Don't just leave it there for other people to deal with. It's just so disrespectful to the environment, to other people. It really annoys the crap out of me. Do all those things and enjoy it, okay? And respect everyone else as well.
Yeah. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope these tips have helped. And if you do enjoy our content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.